Evening, and welcome to the May 2024 meeting of the Ann Arbor Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. The ZBA, as you probably know, hears applications from those who want an exception to the city's zoning ordinance or those who want to do renovation to properties that do not conform to the current rules of the zoning ordinance. It is composed of 9 volunteers, Ann Arbor residents, and we have been nominated by the mayor and then confirmed by city council. So we have 4 applications tonight. For each of the 4 applications, we'll proceed as follows. First, we will hear from city staff in the person of John Barrett, the city zoning coordinator to my right here. And we may ask questions of him about his staff report. Secondly, we'll hear from the applicant, and applicants have 5 minutes to speak, and we may ask questions of each applicant. Thirdly, we will take a small opinions from people pro and con who are physically here in the room, and those of you who are here physically will have 3 minutes. Those who are watching the ZBA meeting remotely will also have 3 minutes to speak. And I will now tell you how to access the ZBA meeting if you are not here physically. To speak remotely, press *9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if you're using the web link. The number for phone access is as follows. I'll repeat it twice. 877-853-5247. Again, 877-853-5247. And the meeting ID, which I'll repeat twice, 938-1648-1007. 938-1648-1007. The city staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of your phone number or your name if you've made it available on your web link. And please, if you are speaking remotely, move to a quiet area so if you have your TV or computer on, we don't get some feedback. Lastly, step number 5 will acknowledge letters and emails that we may have received about the application. And that'll end sort of the public discussion. We will then go into a discussion among the members here. We will come up with a motion and we will vote on the motion. In order for an application to pass, it needs 5 yes votes. If people do not get their application approved, they may then choose to go to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court by filing a timely appeal. The first order of business is a roll call. And let me go through the names. Our regular chairperson, Candace, is absent, and my name is Todd Grant. I'm the vice chair, as you can see from my nameplate here. I am here. Dave DeVarty.
DeVarty here.
Chris Madigan. Not here. Julie Weatherby.
Here.
Grace Whitney.
Here.
Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dharma Ackman.
Here.
And Christina Glusak.
Here.
Let me say 2 things about our members. Julie Weatherby used to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and she is back. So we have an experienced member. And sadly, one of our members, Grace Whitney, this is her last meeting today. She will not be here after today. So you have the agenda in front of you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Second? Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Turning to the minutes from the April meeting, are there any comments, additions, or corrections to the April minutes? I don't hear any. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Mike, okay, and second, Grace, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Now we're on to our first of the four applications. It is 305 Beek Street, and it's ZBA number 24-0017, and John Barrett.
Good evening. I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. The first application before us this evening, like Todd stated, is 305 Beek Street. Michael Bilby, the property owner, is requesting relief from section 5.32.2, alteration to a nonconforming structure, to construct a two-story addition to the existing nonconforming duplex. The proposed addition will allow for a second bathroom to be added to each unit. The basement laundry room will be removed and each unit will receive their own laundry rooms. The property is non-conforming for the front setbacks along Beek Street and North 5th Street. The property is zoned R4C, Multiple Family Residential Dwelling District. The subject property is located at the northeast intersection of Beek Street and North 5th Avenue in the Carytown neighborhood. The residence was built in 1911 and is approximately 1,812 square feet in size. The residence is a certified rental duplex, each with 2 bedrooms that will allow up to 4 unrelated persons in each unit. The two-story addition will be constructed at the southeast corner of the home and will not encroach further into the front setback along Beek Street. The applicant has indicated that a new radon abatement system will also be installed for the apartments. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors. The first slide we have is the zoning map. You see the subject property triangular shaped at the center of the screen. And as I stated, it is zoned R4C. The next screen is the aerial map, and it shows existing conditions and surrounding properties. And the next slide is a zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. And like I stated, the proposed addition is to be in this area of the home right now. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application, and you see in the center of the screen it says proposed addition, and it's right here shaded as I showed previously. The next slide shows the layout of apartment number 1, and you see the proposed addition in the lower right corner, and you see the layout of the existing conditions. 2 bedrooms, like I stated, and then the proposed addition will allow for a new bathroom. The next slide shows apartment 2, and also the 2 bedrooms and the proposed addition with the additional bathroom. These are the photos that I took when I visited the site. You see the subject property from Beek Street. Next slide is the area where the proposed addition is to be. This is looking at it from the other street on North 5th. Looking at it from the back side of the house, this is the rear elevation of the property. This is looking at the rear yard. As you can see, the rear yard is very limited, and the adjacent property on the background. And just another angle of the side of the house and where the proposed addition is going to be. The driveway. And this is looking at the abutting property. And that's all I have at this time, and I'll take any questions that the board may have.
Any questions for John? All right, seeing none, now we wish to hear from the applicant. Please sign in, sir, and state your name clearly.
Hello, I'm Michael Bilby, owner and petitioner for 305 Beeks. I've owned the building quite a while, but we would like to update it with better bathrooms and adding the laundry upstairs, as John mentioned. And there's no radon system in. It was renovated before that was required or a thing. And this would give us the opportunity to put a passive system in. And the roof is being designed so that it'll structurally support solar, and we're also exploring some of the small rooftop windmills, but I'm not sure if that will happen. I own other buildings in the area, and we're trying to get several solar installations at the same time. That's
Any questions for Mr. Bilby? All right, well, thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against this application? All right, none. Is there anybody remote, Courtney?
There are no callers.
All right, and I don't think we received any letters or emails about this. No. Okay, so now we are among discussion for the members here. Wow, we're a taciturn group today. Good, Dave.
This is a small, minimal addition that will significantly improve the property without further encroaching in the setbacks. It's asking for an alteration to a non-conforming structure. The standards for which approval are minimal, and is hearing that I don't see any reason to oppose this. I think it'll be a big benefit to the community and a benefit to the people that live there.
Yep, well said. Any other comments? Well, I guess we're ready for a motion. Okay.
ZBA 24-0018, 518 West Summit Street, or that's wrong. Sorry about that, I'm moving one ahead. Where is,
17.
here we are. ZBA 24-0017, 305 Beak Street, alteration to a non-conforming structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure, to allow construction of a two-story addition to the existing non-conforming duplex. The proposed 12-foot by 12-foot addition will allow for a second bathroom to each unit. The basement laundry room will be removed, and each unit will receive their own laundry rooms. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Is there a support for the motion? A second?
Support.
All right. I'm ready for the roll call. Ready for voting? Dharma,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Dave,
DeVarty, yes.
Grace,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. So the application is passed, 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Bilby.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Our second application tonight is 518 West Summit Street, ZBA 24-0018.
518 West Summit Street. Thomas Waters, the property owner, is seeking a 15-foot variance from section 5.18.5, averaging an established front building lot. The property is applying for a land division to create a new parcel on the Fountain Street side of the lot. The average front setback is 40 feet on the Fountain Street side, and the owner is seeking to reduce the front setback to 25 feet. The property is zoned R2A, two-family dwelling district. The subject property is located at the intersection of West Summit Street, Hillcrest Drive, and Fountain Street in the Water Hill neighborhood. The home was built in 1901 and is approximately 1,176 square feet in size. The parcel contains 12,022 square feet and has frontage along Hillcrest Drive and Fountain Street. Section 5.18.5 requires an average front setback for residentially zoned properties to be measured from adjacent homes within 100 feet on the same side of the street as the subject property. The three properties to the north of the subject property have front setbacks that exceed the 40-foot maximum that can be applied. Therefore, the established average front setback along Fountain Street for the subject property is 40 feet, which exceeds the R2A district requirement of 25 feet. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first slide shows the zoning map, and the subject parcel is highlighted in the center of your screen. And as I stated, it's all, most of the properties in the surrounding area are all zoned R2A. The next slide is the aerial map showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property. Hillcrest Drive is on the east, West Summit Street is to the south, and Fountain Street is on the west side. And the next slide shows the survey that has been submitted with the application. As you can see, the applicant and the surveyor have proposed the land division, and you see the property line right here where my cursor is circling, and that's the proposed land division. And then on this side of the street would be one of the frontages, and that's where the applicant is seeking to reduce it from 40 feet down to 25 on this side of the lot. This is the photo of the property when I was out there on the site inspection. You see the front elevation of the home along Summit. This is the home on the Hillcrest side, on the east side of the lot. This is looking down Hillcrest. You get a feel for the neighborhood and the adjacent properties. And then this is looking on the west side of the lot where the proposed land division is going to be, and it serves as the backyard now. And in the background you see that's the Fountain Street side of the property. This is looking at the corner. I'm standing at the corner of Fountain and Summit, looking towards the home, and this is the backyard where the new proposed lot is to be divided. This is looking along the homes to the north and the back side of them. And then this is looking along Fountain Street, and you see to the right side is all along the visual of what Fountain Street looks like to the north of the Summit Street. This is looking at the backs of the homes along Fountain Street, and as you can see, when you measure from the lot line, they're all through lots. When you measure from the front lot line on Fountain to the back, it exceeds the 40 feet, but you use the maximum of 40 feet for the measurement for the front lot line. Just another shot of one of the adjacent homes to the north. And that will conclude my presentation, but I'll show one more thing. So you have a front yard along here, along Fountain. You have a front yard along West Summit, because every lot line that fronts a public right of way is a front yard. And so if you were to measure the front setback, since it's a through lot, they've got double frontage, they really don't have a rear yard. These houses have two front yards. That's more than 40 feet. That's more than 40 feet. That's more than 40 feet. The maximum average you can apply is 40 feet, so it would be along here, and they're requesting to reduce down to 25. So I hope I've made that clear, and I can take any questions that you may have at this time.
I think Darna's hand is up first, and Grace and Darna.
So I have a question about, it sounds like the R2A zoning category, the standard is 25 feet.
The district requirement, yes, is 25.
So why does I don't understand why the average trumps the standard. Can you explain that to me?
Always does. The average is the precedent for lots that are already developed. If it was a vacant lot or a newly platted subdivision, then you would use the district. But since
So like if the house,
an established lot, we have to do the averaging.
so if the existing house was torn down, for example, then what standard would apply?
It would still be using the standard along
Okay.
these. They on both sides.
Okay,
So if they decide to do the land division and then the other house, the existing house is torn down, they'll have the average along, I'd take the average along those first three houses to the north, whatever that is.
okay,
And since those are so close, it might be 17 or 18 feet. Sometimes the average works for you and sometimes it works against you. And in this case, for the newly proposed lot on the west side of the property, it's working against them.
okay, thanks.
And I think Grace, your hand is up first. I think.
Yeah, I have two questions, kind of in line with Dharma's first. So the created vacant, or the newly created lot that doesn't have anything on it that they're asking for the variance for, that doesn't count as vacant?
It is vacant, but all the rest of the lots are already
Oh,
established.
because the other ones are not vacant?
That's correct.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, have there been any, like drawings or anything submitted for what is planned to be built there, or that's just That's
that wasn't included in my
TBD.
application.
Okay, okay, thanks.
It's either can be a single-family home or it could be a duplex.
Okay.
And your second question?
No, that was both.
Oh, that was, okay. And Dave?
So all of these properties front on Hillcrest, and these are really backyards. I also want to take note and later in discussion talk about the fact that there are no sidewalks on either side of this street north of Summit except for maybe 2 lots well down on the west side of Fountain, which I see as a detriment to pedestrian communication in the neighborhood. My question, if they split the lot like this, that lot split meets all of our standards for the zoning code that they could build on that new lot?
Yeah, it'll meet the area and lot width requirements.
Okay, and then if we pass this setback variance now, that will continue with the lot when it splits? So that would become the front setback
Of 25 feet.
of 25 feet
Yep.
on Fountain. To the north of this are also very deep lots, but much narrower. If we see people coming in, like the neighbors coming in and asking for lot splits, do you see those as potentially complying with the lot area for the zoning?
Without doing an analysis, but they most likely would need variances on the lot width, because they're not going to meet the lot width of 40 feet, I don't believe, on
Okay.
those. And I don't know if they would meet the lot area as well either.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
going to need 40 feet of lot width, and they're going to need 5,000 square feet if the other ones to the north did it. But as you can see, those are much narrower.
Yes, I do. I saw that when I was there. And then the last question, if there's a building, if they proceed with the lot division and build on it, there will be requirements for some amount of open space on the new lot, correct? They can't just build it
They'll have to meet the setbacks all the way around.
All the
front,
way around.
sides, and the rear.
in the rear?
Yep.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a couple of questions, John. The staff report notes that the expression is the rest of the houses along Fountain Street, that is assuming those that are not involved in averaging the setback, all have setbacks of about 25 feet. That's what your report says, I guess, looking at this point here. In other words, the 40 feet applies because of the neighboring homes.
So that's the applicant's response.
Oh, okay.
You see where it says applicant response?
Okay, well, that really ties into my next one.
Okay.
On page 3 of the applicant's response, they had the setbacks of different properties. Were you able to confirm those, actually? Because they all look like they're significantly under 40 feet. This is,
So what's the question?
in other words, what I'm getting at is the neighboring properties, their setbacks are more than 40 feet. So that's imposing the 40 feet requirement on the applicant's property. But the other homes in the neighborhood, so to speak, or along the street, all have setbacks that are 25 feet plus or minus a few feet. That's really what I'm getting at, asking the question more clearly.
So like in this photo that you see right in front of you, this zoomed in aerial photo, if you look at the homes along Hillcrest on that side, they're all less than 25 feet.
Got ya.
To the south, you have 25 feet for maybe one, and then 18 for the next one. So
Okay. So
then, yes, the answer would be the majority of the neighborhood does not have a 40-foot setback.
got you.
But
And
this is a unique situation because of the layout of these properties and also because they're through lots. Most of the other lots, if you went around a neighborhood, wouldn't have a through lot situation, but these do because they front on 2 different streets.
Got you. And a question I've asked before with other applicants is, if it were, but for the averaging setback rule, they would not need to be in front of us today.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions?
I have a
Yes,
question,
Christina.
But maybe it's to the applicant. So on the top of page 32, regarding the black walnut landmark tree. So
I'm not looking at page 32.
it's at the top, it's under A for Practical
This-
difficulties.
One of these,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't get to that totally. Oh, yeah, now I see it, okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's the baseline for them to arrive at the calculation of asking for the 15-foot setback. John, is that your understanding? That's sort of like their baseline, the critical root zone of that landmark walnut tree?
That's one of their contentions, that
Yeah.
with this increased setback, that might
Effective.
affect the root zone of this tree.
Yeah,
So that's one of their applicant's requests, but that's more for them to.
yeah, understood. Okay, thanks. I'm good.
Okay, I think we're ready to hear from the applicant. Sign in, sir, state your name.
Hi, I'm Tom Waters. That's my wife, Jess.
Wonderful. And sign in.
Thank you.
And you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Tom Waters. It sounds like you guys have a pretty thorough perspective on what at least the way that I see kind of the conditions surrounding this land division request. We tried to balance the need for density on the prospective newly created parcel with some balance of trying to protect the tree that's on our parcel. And with that, this 40-foot setback, kind of as we went through that land division process, it looks, I think, a little bit odd within the neighborhood. And so that was really the basis for why we requested the variance now before we go through the land division, as we were given guidance by Grayson, that it would make more sense to get the variance in advance of the land division, because it's, as the survey is created, this is kind of the time to do it, so.
Any questions for Mr. Waters? All right, yes, Christina.
Okay. Did you have a professional identified that critical root zone of the?
That was as defined in the UDC. So that was based on the calculation. So when we had the property surveyed, they measured the base of the walnut tree, which was 46 inches, and based on the calculation that's required in the UDC, that would be that boundary that's in that drawing, if you're looking at it,
Yeah. No, not yet.
would be the 46-foot radius from the center point of the walnut tree as defined by the UDC calculation.
Oh, here.
So, yeah.
Okay, now I see the drawing.
My wife is a master gardener, so that was kind of the other side of it. So it all was informing it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Come forward, sign in, and state your name clearly.
My name is Bruce McCullen, and I live at 510 West Summit, where my wife and I have lived for the last 42 years.
And where is that in relation to?
It's across Hillcrest Court.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I strongly support this. However, my basic quibble is that the setback should be reduced to 15 feet. If you look at by my profession is I'm an architect, and I've been working on development of difficult lots for a very long time. And in fact, I designed and helped build the affordable housing duplex at 517 West Summit across the street. If you look at the houses, that set of houses on Summit and the houses on Hillcrest Court, they are all typically about 30 feet from the pavement. And if we wanted to maintain that, we would need to cut the setback down to about 15 feet. And the reason I really am concerned about this is the lots to the north. I know that they're small and they're not compliant, and if they were split, they'd probably have to be combined. But because of the increasing property values, there's more pressure on the purchasers to buy smaller houses and add on to them. And we see that at the house, which you saw on the slides, that was under construction. There was, some of our neighbors bought the house, and they're doubling the size of it to about 2,100 square feet. And they were sort of the first ones to realize that the people they bought it from, that if they jack the price up enough, if people start looking, hey, we can add on to these houses, that's going to increase the property values. Now, if somebody wanted to buy one of those houses and either put a second large house, like two 2,500 square foot houses, or a 4,500 square foot house on that site, yes, you can do it. But I would like to be able to continue the kind of smaller house development on those 5 lots, potentially 5 lots that are directly north. And that would fit best if you keep if they would have the potential to come and ask for variances on those setbacks to a lower number.
So I think I missed perhaps what you intend is the critical point. What does the other 10 feet give you? Is it a better sight line with respect to the other properties? I've missed that.
If you look at the lots by the red that are outlined in orange, if you just draw a line right down the middle, say, okay, sometime in the future they would be able to split them off. You would want those houses to reflect the ones that are on the opposite side, and have a smaller setback and have a setback from the street that would be equivalent to what everybody else is doing.
Can I ask you a question?
Dave, yes.
So what you're proposing is granting a larger setback than what they're asking for?
That's what if I were here, I would have asked for a larger setback.
We can't do that.
But I'm not
Okay,
saying.
that's out of our purview.
Yes.
Okay.
We can only grant or
I
deny what the applicant has asked for this evening.
Yes, but people may, in the future, be coming back for similar variances for,
They may.
for example, if the 2 adjacent lots split theirs off and combine them, then they could build 2 one-family connected houses on that site, and that could actually happen. So, I just want you to be thinking about what could happen to the properties to the north.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else physically present? Is there anyone remotely? Nope, all right. And I don't think we received any letters or emails. Okay. All right, so we are in discussion. Dave?
So I'm always willing to say, why don't we go with the standard district requirements when we see these excessive setbacks coming in, especially in a situation like this where they're clearly measuring as what was developed as backyards. So think that 25 feet is reasonable. The concern I have is there's not a sidewalk on either side of Fountain Street. So for pedestrians, especially somebody with a stroller, they're in the street. And that's a concern that I have. And I see a need for the city to get a sidewalk on at least one side of these streets. To the south of Summit, there are sidewalks. There's a nice park here. Belize Park is right across the street from this parcel, and I have some friends that live on both Fountain and on Minor. I frequently see families or small children playing in Belize Park. So I know that there are families here with small children in strollers, or sometimes not strollers, but just walking along. So my concern long-term for the city is to get some sidewalks in here on one or the other side of Fountain Street. But in terms of the setback request, I'm for it.
Grace?
Oh, there we go. I do have a quick question for John, I guess related to Dave's concern. Is there a requirement for the city, if somebody is developing that lot, to put in a sidewalk? I mean, I've worked places where that's required, and I know it's not everywhere,
There is not.
Okay. And then, not a question, but I just wanted to say that I also support this request. I think the point of having the average setback requirement is to provide a consistency and neighborhood character in certain places, and I think that requiring this to be set back 40 feet is really not consistent with how the rest of the neighborhood looks. And I definitely feel that asking for the 25 feet, which is the district setback, is in my mind qualifies as a minimal request.
I would like to say that we did receive 2 letters of support. One from Kate and Dale Rominski at 619 West Summit, and one from Molly and Yuri at 813 Hillcrest.
Okay, good. Well, I'd just like to comment on sidewalks. There's sidewalks in my neighborhood, Orchard Hills, but regardless of whether they're pushing a baby stroller or running or walking 2x2, people still favor the street or the middle of the road instead of the sidewalk. I can't really explain that, but. Any other discussion points? Okay. I think we're ready for motion, Dave.
Okay. ZBA 24-0018, 518 West Summit Street. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 15-foot variance from Section 5.18.5, averaging an established front building line requirement of 40 feet. The variance allows for a land division to be completed with a new parcel on the west side of the property to have the reduced average front setback along the Fountain Street side of the property.
Okay, ready for the voting?
I'll support.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking for my piece of paper, I got distracted. Support. Yes, thank you, Grace. Now we're ready for the vote. Candace is not here. Dharma?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So the application passes 7-0. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our third applicant, 305 East Eisenhower Parkway, ZBA number 24-0019.
Jim Johnson, representing the property owner, is seeking a variance from Section 5.24.5, subsection B, permanent signs, other mixed-use and non-residential and special-purpose districts. The total signage for the property currently is non-conforming. The office building has 416 square feet of signage involving a double-sided freestanding sign and 3 wall signs. The applicant is seeking to install 2 new wall signs totaling 85 square feet. The property is permitted a maximum of 200 square feet of signage. The property is zoned TC1 Transit Corridor District. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of South Main Street and East Eisenhower Parkway, north of Briarwood Mall. The 3-story office building was constructed in 1988. The property currently has 3 wall signs. One is Andrews Hooper Pavlik, which is 80.75 square feet, and number 2 is Preferred Title, which is approximately 89.3 square feet, and a third, which is the Brighton Office Center of 22 square feet. The 3 wall signs total 192 square feet, and the freestanding sign along East Eisenhower contains 112 square feet on 2 sides for a total of 224 square feet. The applicants are proposing to install the 2 wall signs for Bank, Michigan. One of the wall signs is 70 square feet and the other is 15 square feet in size. The existing wall signs were installed in 2017 and 2018, and the freestanding sign was installed in September of 2005. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see that the subject property is highlighted in the center of your screen, and it's at the corners of South Main and East Eisenhower Parkway. And the next slide shows the aerial photo or aerial image showing surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide is the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject property. The next slide is a conceptual view of what the applicant submitted. And you see, as I said, the AHP sign is 80.75 square feet, preferred title sign, and then a double-sided freestanding sign. The next slide shows the Bank of America signage that's being proposed. You see the one up on the third story, or up here up top, and then the one down below. Those are the two wall signs that are being proposed for a total of 85 square feet. These are the photos that I took on my site inspection. You see the two wall signs right there at the corners of the building. This is the freestanding sign, and that's the other side of it. And this is what's existing out there now. We'll have to ask the applicant to explain why that was installed already. And then there's the Burlington Office Center sign on the other side of the building. I can take any questions that you may have at this time.
I'm not sure whose hands up was first.
It doesn't.
Oh, Grace, since this is your last meeting,
Okay.
I'll defer to you here.
Does the ordinance allow for additional signage, like for a property on the corner like that? Does it take that into account? Okay.
No.
And then, if I'm understanding right, the square footage is for all signs on the site. It doesn't distinguish by type of sign.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Dave?
So this picture here that you've got on the screen, there are all these Bank of Michigan signs in the window, kind of in the lower right of that lower photo. Do those count?
No, the window signage does not. As long as they don't take up more than 25% of the window area, then it doesn't count against them.
Okay. And then the Burlington Office Center sign, is that counted as part of their signage?
Yes.
Total signage?
Yes.
So what was the signage count on that? Because I didn't remember seeing that in the,
22 square feet.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have several. So the applicant is the owner of the entire building, right? Or is it
No,
only Bank
the applicant
Michigan?
tonight is Mr. Johnson, who's representing the sign company.
Okay, I'm sorry, but, so the property owner, Jim Johnson's the agent of the property owner. What I'm asking is the property owner, the one who owns the entire office building, or just Bank Michigan?
Burlington Center owns the building.
Okay, so they have control over all the signs?
Yes. They have the
Okay,
control
so
over the whole building.
Okay, that was a big problem because they just want to address the Bank Michigan sign, and I was thinking, do you cram the Bank Michigan sign because you have three other signs that are over? But the property owner controls all the signs.
Yes.
All right, well, that makes it much easier. Yeah, I mean, they have the ability to comply with the ordinance and adjust all the signs in the building. Where if it were just Bank Michigan, they'd have to come in with just the leftovers. But this is the owner of the entire building, so they can do whatever they want with the signs and squeeze them down to comply with the ordinance. Right?
Well, or they can just leave the existing conditions.
Or just leave them, right,
Existing
right.
conditions, right.
Or
They can make adjustments to the freestanding sign or the other signs, yeah.
Or we can.
They have options, but.
Yeah, if we turned it down, there'd be some pressure to make all the other signs conform to the new ordinance.
Right.
Darna?
So the issue is really about the number of signs already equaling up to the maximum,
Exceeding the maximum.
exceeding the maximum.
Correct.
And now they want to add another.
Yes.
Okay, which is just adding on to the.
Yeah.
Okay,
Increasing the nonconformity.
okay.
When they have control over all the signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for the building.
No,
owner.
I understand. I mean, I
don't-
came in, I was thinking, it's a heck of a problem because the poor Bank of Michigan is going to get stuffed. But no, I mean, the owner of the building has the power to do whatever with the signs.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be, and the commercial leases run, 70, 90 pages, so it may be a lease problem, but, okay. All right. Any other questions?
So for John, when did the the ordinance change?
2019.
Okay, sorry if I missed that in your presentation. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
you're done? All right, I guess with that, we're ready to hear from the applicant, or the applicant's agent in this case. Thank you. You're signing in. I didn't have to tell you to do that. You caught on.
I'm a banker, I'm a rule follower, except in this case.
Your name,
My
sir?
name's Rick Northrup. I'm President and CEO of Bank Michigan. Bank Michigan is a community bank, and you can see us on our website at bankmichigan.bank. Bank Michigan charter goes back to 1907. And I renamed and moved the headquarters of the bank to Ann Arbor, to this building. And we occupy the branch that is part of the window cling area to the right on that picture. We also occupy a suite of offices on the third floor, just underneath the proposed Bank Michigan sign at the top. We serve and employ the citizens, businesses, and residents of Washtenaw County in this office. We also have offices in Jackson County and in Lenawee County. So this signage is a key component of our brand awareness and our ongoing marketing strategy as we bring valued financial services to Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County in general. And I will point out, it is the only signage proposed to be on, it would be on the Main Street side of the building, is a significantly, has a significant perimeter to it. This signage is supported by the landlord, Mr. Jeff Hopman and his company, Oxford Companies. And I believe there was a letter in the package for it, and I'm respectfully requesting, expansion of the existing non-conforming status to be able to put our signs up on our headquarters building. So the window clings will come off as part of that. The existing metal box sign that is over the entrance, you had a picture of it, John, in your presentation. We inherited that when we took over the lease from the U of M Credit Union, which had exited the building, exited that location when they moved to South State Street with their new facility south of the MAVD development.
So you did a face change?
We just put a new sign in there, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same cabinet? New
Same
face.
cabinet.
Okay.
So we're looking to replace that with what we call our icon, which is the bee in the state of Michigan, the bee Mich, and then put our full logo at the top. I'm not well-versed in the rules and the history of the zoning requirements for signage, but I do understand that the building is currently non-conforming, and so I view this consideration as an expansion of the non-conforming, and does this present an onerous or an onerous issue for the city or an eyesore for the people or residents in the area, which of course we don't think it does, the way we've structured it. Mr. Grant, you talked about the landlord, trying to make the landlord conform. What I can tell you about the other signs, and our sign is included, those are contained in lease agreements with each tenant. And so there's an underlying financial contract where consideration is paid by the tenants to the landlord for that signage. So for the city to come and say, you now have to conform, that would be a significant financial hardship for the tenants and the landlord, as well as probably create some issues, some legal issues around that.
I'm not surprised. I'm a retired attorney. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so that's what I can tell you about that. What else can I answer for you?
I have some questions, but anybody else? Is the signs of Bank Michigan, are they the same square footage as the University of Michigan Credit Union signs were?
I cannot answer that. I don't recall what the U of M Credit Union had on the building when they were there.
Okay. And obviously, you said you represent the bank. You don't have anything to do with the other tenants.
No.
Their signs, their intents are, right, understand.
Yes.
Okay.
And I neglected to introduce Tara Charles as part of our bank team. She's the project manager on this, and Jason Sestak is here from Johnson Signs, and they can help answer any questions that you might have.
Just to clarify, so the signage is only going to be on the long face along Main Streets, no signs on any of the other sides of the building?
Correct.
Okay, all right, good, that's helpful, all right.
I've got some questions
Dave.
for staff.
Oh,
Not
staff,
for the
okay.
applicant.
I think we're done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Northrop.
So, am I up for questions? So, John,
Yeah,
our sign ordinance is a set amount of signage per building, and it doesn't matter what the square footage of the surface area that's presented to the street, so it's not like a percentage of surface area, it's just a flat number per building, no matter how large the building is or how much surface might be presenting itself along a street. Is that the way our sign ordinance is written?
It's based on building frontage with a maximum of 200 square feet. So if you had 150 linear feet of building frontage, you would get 200 square feet, not 300. And if you have 50 linear feet, you'd get 100. So we capped it at 200 in 2019.
So on a building like this, the building frontage is on multiple sides.
Two sides,
So-
South Main and Eisenhower, correct.
And
And they have they probably have 300 linear feet of frontage.
which by our formula would allow for more signage, except we capped it at 200.
That's correct.
I don't understand the rationale for that. I guess the policymakers dove into this when they crafted this, but to me, it doesn't sound like justice is being done. I mean, if they chopped the building in half, right? If these were two buildings, then they could get more signage, right?
Each building would get their own
Right.
amount, but it would be,
So they
it would be
could-
two separate buildings, not one.
Right.
well, there's an idea.
That's not a realistic idea for Oxford companies to do that. I don't know, I have a lot of difficulty, and I want to say I've been grappling personally with our sign ordinances, and we're seeing more and more sign variance requests coming to us. We are not provided with very much guidance from the policymakers on high who entrust us with enforcing these zoning laws. And I have a lot of difficulty with how we deal with these. So I'll leave it open for other people to discuss. I don't know where I'm coming down on this.
Well, speaking of on high, our city council representative, Dharma, you have your hand up.
Let me just say first, this was before my time, so indeed, I was trying to look up what the rationale was for the changes to the sign ordinance, and John helped me out by understanding, that the rationale was to reduce the amount of signage. There was too much signage in general. So given that that was the rationale, I'm thinking of it in that way, but I guess what I'm wondering is, what would be their options for compliance for this particular place? Would it be to have no sign? If we're just looking at this in isolation,
At this one tenant or
Yeah.
the whole building?
at this one
Tenant.
case that's coming forward to us, yeah,
So if the variance isn't granted tonight, they wouldn't get a sign.
0 sign.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
They could keep the one over the door. No,
So that was not permitted or approved, so.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry? Thank you. I was going to say.
Since we started talking, I'm sorry.
Right. I need to organize my files here a little better. Candace has it down. Anybody else in the audience that wants to speak on this? All right, any callers, remote callers? All right. And letters and emails?
No, we didn't
No?
receive that.
Okay. Well, we are in discussion. Dave?
I have a lot I want to say about this. But my birthday is tomorrow, and I'm ready to celebrate, as you could tell by the shirt I'm wearing. So I'm not going to go into it too much depth. We're presented, again, by the policymakers on high with a motion and variance worksheet, which is basically crafted on granting variances for development or for additions in residential or on lots. And these are standards that they ask us to say we have to meet in order to grant these variances, but they're totally irrelevant. And I say once again, for about the 15th time, asking the planning department to come forward with a different group of metrics. A set of criteria that we can judge these by, because this is totally inadequate. There's just no way to comply with this set to grant a variance like this because it's impossible to meet.
So to respond
these
to that,
criteria.
Dave, text amendments take a while, so we're working on Grace's text amendment right now. That's in the process. So these are things that have to be crafted, drawn up, go to ORC, go to Planning Commission, City Council, so they take some time. And so I've brought this up to the Planning Department already. What are your concerns about
I
signs?
guess I have to lobby my council person.
I have conveyed all of your concerns about the 5 criteria for the
I want
signs.
you to know that we're, as volunteers, giving our time to the city to enforce its policies, we're in a hard place. And I'd like justice to be done in this case, and I just don't know how to do it. And I look to other board members to help me out.
I think I can help you. Mike, you have your hand up. We haven't heard from you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy for me. Vote yes to do some justice here. Where this building's located, right by Briarwood, it's not right on the edge of a bunch of homes. All these buildings look the same over there. It's really hard to find businesses without good signage, because you can't say look for that building that's red brick. It's right, driving through this area, the signage is really critical. So these don't look like unreasonably big signs. They're not, across the street from a bunch of houses. I'm going to vote yes on this.
I have a few comments too. I agree with Mike. I think that we're somewhat constrained here, and Mr. Northrop, not to my surprise at all, that in these very detailed commercial leases, there would be explicit things about how large and the shape the sign would be, and that's part of the consideration. And secondly, the bank needs a sign. We've been a little hard on some of there was a hotel in Briarwood where it's clear today with travelers, most people don't find a hotel by driving around looking at a hotel as the sun's going down. You find it online, and you just need a little sign, as one of the hotels in Briarwood Circle has, to identify which of the hotels is the right one. But that's not the case here. And I think to say it the other way, what all businesses would want in the perfect world would be an enormous sign with spotlights that would blare loud music so you would know where to go for their stuff. But of course, you can't really have that. In contrast, these signs, I think, are very tasteful. It's nice to see them hidden. But the bottom line is the bank needs a sign, and we can't deny them a sign. I don't think that would be right. So I think that I have to vote yes on this. That would be the correct thing to do. Any other comment? Dharma?
Just have to take the bait. I actually feel like in this case, this worksheet is helpful because it talks about, is the practical difficulty exceptional to the property and conditions that don't exist elsewhere? Yeah, I think that they're within a context that they can't really control with respect to the signage that's already on the buildings. The difficulty which will result from the failure to grant the variance includes substantially more than mere inconvenience. Yeah, they won't have a sign, period. Allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, especially considering the practical difficulties. Again, I think it meets that criteria, and it's not a self-imposed practical difficulty. It's not. And shall be the minimum that will make possible reasonable use of the land or structure, I guess, goes into whether we think that, the sign is bigger than it needs to be. So I actually don't think that this is that far off for
Okay.
this particular instance.
Thank you, Dharma.
You convinced me. You convinced me.
So we're going to put that issue to rest for the time being.
I'm ready to make a motion.
I think with that, we're ready for a motion on 305 East Eisenhower Parkway.
ZBA 24-0019, 305 East Eisenhower Parkway. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants an 85 square foot variance from section 5.24.5 subsection B, permanent signs, to allow for 2 new wall signs to the existing non-conforming building. The signs are to be installed per the submitted plans.
Support? Okay, thank you, Christina. Grace?
Yes.
I vote yes. Christina?
Yes.
Dave?
DeVarty, yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
And Dharma?
Yes.
The application has passed 7-0. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Next petition before us this evening is ZBA 24-0020. Address is 3501 South State Street. Northern Sign Company, representing the business and property owners, is seeking a variance from Table 5.24-3, other mixed-use and non-residential and special purpose district permanent signs. The variance request of 21 feet would allow a permanent wall sign to be installed above the maximum allowable height of 20 feet. The property is zoned TC1 Transit Corridor District. The subject property is located at the intersection of South State Street and Victor's Way, north of Interstate I-94. The building was built in 2003 and is a hotel use. The applicants will be removing the existing Comfort Inn and Suites sign package and be replacing that with a Sparks Hotel by Hilton sign package. 2 existing wall signs are to be removed, and the applicants are requesting to replace with wall signs that will exceed the maximum allowable wall sign height of 20 feet. The proposed wall sign heights are 41 feet for the south and west elevations of the building. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first slide is the zoning map and the subject property highlighted in bluish green in the center of your screen. And the next slide is the aerial photo showing the subject property, existing conditions surrounding areas as well. And like I said, it's just right here at the South State and I-94. The next slide shows the zoomed in aerial photo of the subject hotel property and the configuration of the parcel. Next slide was submitted by the applicant and showing the different signs and what they want to do. And the variances are for the number 2 wall sign and number 1 wall sign. We'll see that right here. So the code says if the building is less than 45 feet in height, you can't exceed 20 feet in height. This building actually happens to be 43 feet tall. To the top of that peak, that gable, is 43 feet. And so it's less than 45. So these signs will have to be installed at 20 feet. Applicant is seeking a variance to have them, as you can see, at 41 feet. That's existing on the left and the proposed on the right. Next slide is just part of their sign package that was submitted. They're going to change out the entrance sign. This is out by the South State entrance. You see the proposed changes, which aren't part of this variance. It's just part of the sign package overall. And this existing wall logo is going to be removed and not replaced. And next slide, you can see where this logo is going to be removed, and then that will be removed as well, and they want to replace it with this sign to be installed up here above the 20-foot height limit requirement. These are the photos that I took when I made my inspection. And you see the signs. This is facing south towards 94. Oh. And that's sorry, having technical difficulties, but that was the end of my presentation anyway. That was the end of the signs. So I will take any questions that you may have at this time.
Questions? Mike?
So John, you said the building's 43 feet,
45 feet or taller.
but this building's 43 feet?
Correct, yes.
If it were 2 feet taller, how high could the sign be?
It could be within the top 15 feet of the building, or within 3 feet of the top.
Within 3 feet of the top?
Yep, I'll read that section of code. It's a little confusing. So on this wall sign, it says, the placement must be within the lowest 20 feet of the building if the building height is 45 feet or higher. It may, or if the building height is 45 feet or higher, it may be placed within the uppermost 15 feet of the building and may extend up to 3 feet above the top of the building.
Above the top of the building? Like it can stick out above the top of the building if it wanted to?
Yes, but since this building is 2 feet shorter at 43 and not 45, and that's these gables.
Well, that was my next one. So do you measure?
Because you've got
sorry.
the 3 stories right here in the picture. That would be probably 30 and some change, and then you've got this gable that takes it up to 43. But it still doesn't hit the 45 mark.
Dharma.
So if they were to put these signs, I mean, there is no alternative for them to put these signs, correct? I mean,
Well, on one of them there is.
Well,
because 20 feet would be about halfway down the building.
This one, they could put it
they could
down
put
here.
it, they could put it here.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
Is that the main entrance?
Yes, right there, the main entrance.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, and I did discuss that with the applicant. I said, that one of the options, and that would be to install one of them right here on the main entrance.
and the last picture you showed was facing I-94 on the south side?
Yes.
Which is the back. That's not the side that's going to be visible first.
Yeah, that last photo that I showed you is right here. That's that gable right there, and there's 94. And then the other one, the entrance is right here.
So thinking like an attorney, Mike, you probably have the same thought that if they added 2 feet to the building on top of the gable, they could have a much bigger sign.
Not a much bigger sign.
But I mean a higher sign, and it could stick up above the other 2 feet.
It wouldn't be, if they, yes, that's kind of a
Yeah,
false
it's,
facade.
you
That's
know.
not really part of the building, but it's a feature that takes it up to that 43. The rest of the building's 30 and some change.
But if they add 2 feet to the feature, as you call it, they would be able
Well,
to.
then they
have
wouldn't
a
come to
sign.
visit, then they wouldn't be here tonight, and they could just
Right.
install it.
Right, okay, all right, okay.
But
Great.
basically what they're wanting to do is just to replace the existing package and put it back to where it was.
Right. Grace?
Could you have a building that's 45 feet in this district? That height would be okay.
Yes, yeah, this is TC1.
So like by
yep,
principle, another building next would have a sign that's that high up.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the magic number, once you go over 45 feet in building height. And that's why that last building, if you notice on those elevations, that building was 48 feet tall. That's why that other sign didn't need a variance, because it's gonna be up top, but the building's 48 feet, so.
This town has the weirdest ordinances I've ever seen.
So there is a hotel.
Parting shot?
So in Briar, I can't think of the name offhand, but as you go around Briarwood, the hotel that's nearest South State Street has a very little sign in cursive. Kensington,
Yeah.
right. That's the only sign they have, the little one, right?
I know they have a freestanding sign, but I don't know about the rest of the
Okay,
package.
but-
I think they have another wall sign.
Well, I think it was the Hilton that wanted to redo the sign to correspond with the national, whatever the people in New York City thought that ought to be around the country. And, our comments from mine and others as well is, one, people don't find hotels by driving around. And if Kensington can get away with a little sign, and they're not unoccupied, what's the problem? So, but anyway, that's sort of my thinking at this point.
Happy to make my same argument when we get to our
Yeah,
discussion point that I made
okay,
last
all
time
right.
that did
Well,
not
it'll be
carry
interesting.
today.
Any more questions for John? Okay, I think we're ready to hear from the applicant. Good. Your name, sir?
Joel Yono, appearing on behalf of the applicant and the owner of the property. And I'm here over 2 feet, as we all are. The owner of the property, Wolverine Superior Hospitality, Inc., started negotiating with Spark by Hilton to rebrand its Comfort Inn and Suites because its license was at its term in July of 2023. Thereafter, franchise agreements were signed. They commenced improvements and that are required to rebrand, such as planning, architecture, drawings, and one of the last steps usually is signage. And they come to this point, and they find out there's a height issue of 2 feet. So here we are today. And as you know, they're requesting a height variance. As part of that, the new package, they are reducing the signs. The channel letter is being reduced. They're removing certain logo, like you see there on the porte-cochere and on the other architectural feature. This building was built with architectural features for signs, if you look at it. All of the hotels that I've seen, barring the Kensington, or whatever it was called, have their signage is always above the highest floor of the rooms. I think that's by design. I don't know if it's for guests, for visibility. I know you mentioned everyone uses GPS. That's true. However, when I use GPS, as soon as I get close to my destination, I'm looking for a sign. I want to know where to turn in. I want to avoid having a look, I don't want to hit cars. I don't want to hit people. I'm very focused on where's that sign. I'm coming up 700 feet, 400 feet, 300 feet. I don't want to make that mistake. So I do use GPS, but I still look for the signage. This building was built in 2003, fully permitted. So it's my understanding at the time, those signs were permitted. I don't know when the signage ordinance changed, and neither does my client, obviously. Some of the factors to consider are the practical difficulties and exceptional peculiarities to the property and to the person requesting this variance. This property actually sits below the off-ramp from the highway and below State Street. Just want you to take that into consideration. Also, the guests who come to this hotel are typically from out of the area. They're not as familiar, or they don't grow accustomed to where the location is, such as if you were to go to a coffee shop on a regular basis. Regarding replacing the signage, on the south side, there's no practical place to replace that signage. On the west side, it was mentioned the porte-cochere. Studies have not been done to determine whether the porte-cochere can support a sign, how you get power to it, and other factors. So that study has not been done yet, and the cost of it. If need be, as insinuated here, is it possible maybe they increase the height of the building and then they don't have to come before the ZBA? Regarding justice being done, again, I'm going to state this is over 2 feet. In that same area, there are hotels that are less than 45 feet that have signs in excess of 20 feet. The Red Roof Inn next door, their signage is in excess of 20 feet. The Extended Stay America, its signage is in excess of 3 stories. I don't know the exact height of that building, but looking at it on Google Maps, it's probably the same height. It's a 3-story building. In addition, all of the hotels in that area, except for maybe one, have signs that are same location on the top above all their stories. So for instance, Hyatt Place is in excess of 6 stories. Even Hotels is in excess of 4 stories. Fairfield Inn, excess of 5 stories. Holiday Inn is in excess of 5 stories. Sheraton is in excess of 6 stories. Courtyard, excess of 4 stories. Hampton, excess of 4 stories. Again, these heights are by design by the signage ordinance, which essentially penalizes a smaller height building compared to a larger height building, even though they're in the same industry and they're attracting the same clientele. The conditions and circumstances here are not self-imposed. My client owned this building, built it pursuant to building permits, and now finds out I can't merely replace my sign. My time up?
A couple of more points, sir.
Sure. The only thing I guess I want to add with the limited time I have left is the current height of the signage does not diminish, but I think it increases safety for both vehicles and pedestrians, because like I said, people will be able to identify that hotel sooner. And again, the sign, it's not a nuisance sign, it's a very attractive sign. Hilton is actually an upgrade from Comfort Inn and Suites, which is a Choice branded hotels. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, all right. Questions?
I have an offbeat question.
Sure.
Why are they changing their name to Spark? I mean, that conflicts with, we have like a commercial development organization that works with bringing industries to the community and to the state.
Yeah, Ann
That
Arbor
goes by the Ann Arbor Spark. And when I saw this, I'm saying, oh, Ann Arbor Spark is moving.
That's above my pay grade. That's a Hilton question. All I know, based on my industry and based on my experience, is Hilton is a much better brand than Choice, and I think it's an asset and it's wonderful to have.
I
in the
was
community.
just throwing that question out there.
So, Mr. Yono, you've made a number of excellent points. You well stated, made a number of excellent points. Picking up on Dave's question, I have a Hilton and a Holiday Inn. My wife has Marriott. But there are so darn many hotel chain names. It's like thinking when we were kids, you went in there 40 different toothpaste. No, they're all Procter & Gamble. So Hilton has Hilton, Doubletree, Embassy Suites, Hilton Garden Inn, Hampton, which I like, Homewood, and now Spark. I have no idea what the differences are. Talk about brand mushiness. You just put them all into a blender. It's insane. I don't get it. It has nothing to do with what we're doing today. But another Hilton name, it's insane.
We're getting a little out of the weeds.
I know. Anyway, so
Todd brings up a good point, if you don't mind.
I do have a relevant question.
Sure.
But like Dave is like, oh my God, if the signage that's there, that's up on the screen, that is the main side of the building as you come into Briarwood, is that correct? That's what we're looking
Parking lot.
In the parking
lot?
They're across the
Okay.
street from Briarwood.
Okay,
That's correct.
thank you, that's correct.
I did want to mention the franchise agreement. So that's one thing.
Yep.
I know so we do have a franchise agreement which requires signage in certain places. So a denial of this could put us potentially in a liability issue. Again, that's above my head with Hilton.
Right, understood, okay.
And then I can answer your question on the numerous brands if you want my opinion.
No, that's okay.
No, it'll just confuse, what little part is left in an old brain will just confuse me even more.
It's actually really simple.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Yono? All right, okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. I greatly
Okay.
appreciate it. Happy birthday, David.
No, thank you very much.
All right. Anybody, no, there is nobody else in the audience, that makes that easy. Any remote callers?
There are no
Okay, any letters or emails?
No.
Okay, we're left, okay, on our own.
We're in
All right,
discussion.
we are in discussion. Grace?
I feel like the request makes sense, and I appreciate that overall, that with the rebranding, that the signage is being reduced. And I would rather see the sign there in this location where the building is kind of designed for it to be than the building be changed to be 2 feet higher. Personally, I think it would look a lot weirder if that was the case, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Dave, you're smiling. Mike, you're not? No?
Well, I was going to say, we need the hotel rooms, so I'm going to hold out till they put an extra floor on this. But no, that's a joke. That's a joke. I'm in my birthday mode already. I don't see any reason to deny this,
Okay.
for the same reasons that Dharma articulated on the previous motion that was similar.
Okay.
I mean, I think it does comply with several of our determination metrics.
Any other discussion? All right, I think we're ready for a motion.
ZBA 24-0020, 3501 South State Street. Based on the following findings in accordance with the established standards for, or actually, let me cross that out. In accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 21-foot variance from Table 5.24-3 to allow 2 wall signs to be installed at a height of 41 feet where the maximum height is 20 feet. The signs are to be installed per the submitted plans.
Support?
Support.
Grace, all right. Voting. Dharma,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Grace.
Yes.
I vote yes. Dave
DeVarty, yes.
and Christina.
Yes.
Your application is passed, sir, 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Good. Any unfinished business?
I don't have any, if anyone else does, no one's brought anything to my attention.
Okay. New business?
Other than, our
One.
member that's already been mentioned a couple times.
Yes, yes, well, welcome back, and
No, Dave.
thanks again to Grace. One new coming, one leaving, all right.
Kicking you
All right, and now possible reports from goings-on at the city council. Dharma?
We just passed our budget, and including in that budget was some additional resources for John, as well as the planning department, because we know we have the comprehensive plan as well as a bunch of important UDC changes that are coming up at the request of council. So we switched out the suggestion for a junior person. We lost some people to retirement over the past year with a more senior person, and as well as some consulting money. So I think that's the big news.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other communications? I haven't received any, I don't know of any. You? All right. Anybody remotely that wants to comment in general on something else not covered so far? No? All right. I guess we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I move for adjournment.
Okay, second? All right, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right.
We're
The
adjourned.
meeting, correct.
Dave
Thank
has
you.
an announcement to make.
So I'm celebrating my birthday, and I've got a friend of mine who's out of town, who's got a really nice place at the corner of